Guess what? Walt Disney did not create the very first Cinderella story. I beg to differ. The very first Cinderella story is in the Bible, and it's called Song of Songs. Now, if you can recall the Cinderella story by Walt Disney, Cinderella had a wicked stepmother and wicked stepsisters who treated her very bad, made her feel ugly, kept her in the home where no one could see her, made her do all the chores, mop the floor, clean the dishes, clean the bathrooms, everything that they didn't want to do. In fact, they didn't do anything. Now, the Shulamite woman who lived in Palestine had a wicked stepmother and two wicked stepbrothers. They put her out in the vineyard because she didn't belong in the house. They made her do all the chores pertaining to the vineyard. So she stayed out in the Palestine sun all day, and her skin was darkened. And that made her feel ashamed, made her feel ugly, unloved, and unwanted. So just like Cinderella from Walt Disney's story, in steps her prince. The Shulamite prince was King Solomon. He had come to check on his royal vineyard, and apparently the Shulamite parents were leasing this vineyard. So King Solomon comes down with his entourage, with his army, and he sees the Shulamite woman tending the vines. Immediately, he fell in love with her. She saw him, apparently, and she takes off because she felt ashamed and embarrassed by her appearance. So King Solomon didn't give up on her. He came back, but he was disguised as a shepherd. So after wooing her and winning her love, he reveals that he's King Solomon, and he asks her to go away with him. Now, when the Shulamite woman arrives in Jerusalem with her lover, she noticed that all the women were fair-skinned, and it made her feel insecure. So what does her lover do? That's King Solomon. He does nothing but compliments her. In chapter 1, verse 9, he says to his beloved, I liken you, my darling, to a mare among Pharaoh's chariot horses. Your cheeks are beautiful with earrings, your neck with string of jewels. We will make you earrings of gold, studded with silver. Verse 15. How beautiful you are, my darling. Oh, how beautiful your eyes are doves. In chapter 2, verse 1, his beloved says, I am a rose of Sharon, a lily of the valley. Now, the Shulamite woman is saying here that she's just a common person. She's an ordinary woman because lilies were very common back in those days. So she didn't feel like she was anything special. But her prince, Charming, says to her in verse 2, like a lily among thorns is my darling among the young women. So Solomon is saying, no woman can touch her. She's just so hot. Other women are like thorns. The backdrop of this poem takes place in a vineyard. When God created Adam and Eve, he put them in the Garden of Eden. They lived in perfect harmony. with the earth, God's creatures, and God. They enjoyed one another physically, sexually, and emotionally. God honored that. That's the way He intended it to be. The courtship of this relationship with the Shulamite woman and King Solomon, you see, as it progressed from courtship, they're intentionally really dating, and then it leads to marriage. It's something that's not as common in today's world as in the ancient days. We put sex before marriage. As a matter of fact, and it's a sad thing to say, women have sex today hoping that a relationship will come down the line. But we know that's not the way it's supposed to be. Stars glorify being in a relationship after relationship, having a child, and then divorcing and having another child, and they still haven't divorced the other husband. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on today in this world. But we serve a God of order. We are supposed to be committed to our spouses. Sex is wonderful in marriage. Does it sustain it? No. Will it sustain it? No. The commitment that we make to God, that we will stay committed to our spouses, is what sustains it. Sex outside of marriage is wrong. It's a sin. We don't hear that word today. We hear sex, sex, sex. It's on the news, it's on the radio, it's on billboards, everywhere we look, but we do not see the word sin. God honors marriage. The relationship between Solomon, King Solomon, and a Shulamite woman is evident of that. When we sustain and wait until God gives us the one He chooses, then in the end, we will rejoice like King Solomon did, because we live in alignment with the Word of God, that marriage is pure. The marriage bed should be kept undefiled.